We tend to think that social media influencers are constantly having fun and happy. But is it? This week's guest is Kiena Suhaimi, one of the pioneers for this new wave style of fashion. She started by publishing a video on YouTube as an experiment, and from that point onwards, her name skyrocketed in the fashion community. Hi, this is Brylan, and welcome to another episode of Cultivating the Masses. On this episode, Kiena shared her journey and what are the kind of challenges she goes through as a social media influencer. This podcast is a collaboration between Culture Talent and Renegade Radio. Now let's get to it. Hi, Kiena.
Hi.
It's been a while, right?
Yeah,
it's been a while.
Yeah. Like a month or so.
Yeah. I last met you like about a month ago, just casually talking about Culture Talent, right?
Mm-hmm.
In your own words, how would you describe Kiena Suhaimi?
Oh, that's a very good question. Actually, like when I first heard of it, I wouldn't know what to say.
Right.
But I think one word that can describe me best would be independent.
Right.
Because I think even before being a social media influencer, I started working from quite a young age. Because I love working. I love gaining new experience. I love meeting new people. So, like, you can say I started working right after SPM. So that would be like 17, 18.
Right.
And like even before that, I was very heavily involved in curricular activities in my school.
Right.
So I would say independent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm also like very passionate in what I'm doing, and it could be very subjective, like not just because of my work or stuff. It could be meeting new people, like creating a bond with my clients and all. It could be that. So yeah.
Where did you work last time? Like after SPM? Like just to share lah.
Oh God, I work at I work at a retail store at KLCC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. How long?
I think 3 to 4 months. Quite a long time.
Right.
But I gained a lot of experience there, like customer service and all. Oh my God.
Yeah. Did you have to deal
That's
with like
terrifying.
macam customers yang macam perangai macam, you know, like a bit.
It was terrifying. I
Okay.
was only like 17.
Right.
I didn't have any experience working in real life. So having to face that kind of people kind of like, it was damn scary, okay?
Right.
And then I think that built me to be the person I am today.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was also one of the stepping stone to making a decision to enroll in communication study. So yeah, it was great. Yeah.
That sounds a lot like my experience as well. It's always like when you got out of school, right? And you're always so ambitious about stuff and you wanted to work, right? And you're so excited to work. And then reality just come and like, hey, there's a lot of people like this in this world, right? So you got to deal with it.
You're like, oh God.
Yeah. When you first started out with all this personal branding that you're doing, I mean, I believe you started with your YouTube video, right? The one where you did a tutorial on how to style their hijab and all of that. When you first started out, was that the kind of direction that you wanted to go with the image that you want to bring yourself in? Or do you not want to stick to that image only and expand further?
To be honest, it was very experimental. I started like gaining new friends on Twitter that time. Back then, it was like the start of Twitter and all.
Yeah.
Like people do tweet ups and stuff to meet up. And then from there, I guess there's not a lot of hijab styles.
Right.
Because it was, when I should say like 8 to 7 years ago. It was a long time ago. And then also there's not much YouTubers. So it started out very, very, I can say I didn't plan it. Like I just did it for some few friends that wanted to like know how I sell my hijab and all. I figured out takkanlah, like I wouldn't want to Skype one by one, right?
Right.
So I did a YouTube tutorial, and then by that it kind of like, I don't know, I think I started feeling that, oh, I think it's a new passion. So after that I started doing like the videos monthly. And then the channel kind of developed by itself.
Oh, okay.
It was very experimental and I didn't plan it. So the whole experience was amazing.
Oh, okay. Right, because I still remember when we first got enrolled in our universities, right? And when I entered the class and everyone was like, don't you know who that is? I'm like, who is she, man? I'm from Kuching, Sarawak, right? I don't know jack shit about orang kat sini kan. And then everyone's like, that's Kiena Suhaimi. I'm like, well, what does she do? And then check out YouTube. So and then I checked out YouTube and I saw your video there, and then you have quite a tremendous amount of views. I'm like, well, she's huge. Yep. Now I know why people are talking about her, right? First few months over there, it was quite overwhelming to have you in that class because the attention was a lot on that class as well.
Oh my god.
I mean, coming from our seniors and whatnot, right? And yeah, that's that. Also, when you said like about the YouTube channel, right? You came up. I mean, those styles that you came up with, was it something that was inspired by some other stylist, or was it something that you just experimented on, or how?
Back then, Hana Tajima was really huge.
Right.
I don't know if you've heard of her.
Yep.
But she is still kind of an influencer and all. And then, if I'm not mistaken, she's a fashion designer.
Right.
I'm sorry if I'm wrong. But then last time she did this one style of hijab, and then like everyone was going crazy about it because we didn't have much styles back then. So I was heavily inspired by her, and then moving on, I started doing my own styles. Like I just wing it, and out of the blue, it got a lot of attention from
Right.
from viewers, not only from Malaysia but also from Indonesia. So I
Oh,
think,
really?
yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. I think it was like really amazing because
Right.
it was really, like I said, experimental. Receiving such feedback was truly like amazing.
Yeah. Damn, Indonesia.
Yeah.
So when I first met you, you were on Instagram. Instagram was growing at the time, right? Instagram was really at a very immature age, I would say. People were still very new to the platform, and you, on the other hand, you've already gained a certain amount of followers, and throughout the years of Instagram growing, right, you grew your audience too, which was a crazy amount, to be honest. It spiked up really quickly, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. I could be wrong, but based on my eyes, it seems like it grew really fast. So I wanted to know, was there any sort of like technique or something that you did in particular to actually help, or was it unintentional to grow that amount of followers? I was just wondering if you could share a little bit more on that.
In terms of followers, I will not say that it spiked up like really fast, because I think that like throughout the years it grew, but not that fast. I think it's okay. It's okay. Like if you want to compare to other influencers, I mean it's average, totally average. But I think in terms of growing my followers, it's more about sharing my everyday life, sharing things that might benefit them as well, especially on the things that I'm most interested in, which is beauty, fashion and style, going to events. And I think people love seeing those things. They want to see what's new. They want to know like what's the in trend now. They want to know what's the latest makeup collection that's going out and all. So I think by posting that, by keeping them always like in check with the current trends and all, they're interested in what I'm posting basically. So not only that, sometimes some of these followers, they like to see your everyday life, your daily life, you can say like your OTD or what you eat, where you go and everything like that, because they want to feel like inspired, or they want to know like, oh, where can I go next, like if I want to go eat in KL, like where can I go and stuff. So I think by creating a lot of contents, working with brands, going to events, and also meeting other influencers as well, that helped.
Oh, that helped grew your audience, like.
Yeah.
Okay. Another one coming from me personally, right? You knew that you have this sort of like, I wouldn't say superpower, but you know that you have this kind of influence, right? That whatever you say, you have the power to change people's perception towards something, right? With you holding that sort of responsibility, I just want to know a little bit more on your thoughts about that. Like, what are the kind of responsibilities do you do in terms of like influencing other people, right?
back then I didn't think that it was a big thing, because like I said, it was very experimental. I didn't expect it to happen and all. So at first I was like, oh, I'm just a normal person, but the different thing about me is that I have this amount of followers. So I was not kind of aware of my responsibility at first, because back then I was only 15. Like I didn't even know who I'm gonna be, like what type of person I want to be in the future and all. So for me, it started out with not knowing what to do, what to say and all, by just like being myself. But throughout the years, I figured who I want to be, like I figured out what type of person I want to be in general. So by then I know that it comes with responsibility as well. Like having this kind of followers, you have to kind of watch what you're gonna say, even what you're gonna wear, because people will talk.
Yep.
And that's something that you have to accept, because everything comes with consequences, not just consequences. You have to believe that being an influencer also comes with benefit as well. Right? So you have to understand that it always comes with something later on. So you have to always think twice before saying anything, before putting out anything, before posting anything, because whatever that you say, whatever that you post online, you won't be able to take it back, you know? So things like that kind of like make me mature throughout the years. So I've learned a lot also from seeing all these influencers. Some of them,
Right.
you know, do this and do that. So you can basically learn, because as you can see, like our social media thingy in our country right now is very like
Yeah,
it's
it's
growing
blowing up.
very
Yeah,
fast.
it's blowing
You know,
up. Yep.
everything is happening right now. So yeah, I think I learned a lot by seeing all these people online.
Going back to that statement you made earlier when you said you gotta really watch out of what you post, what you say, because you know you played an important role of towards creating some sort of perception in the society, right? However, I do want to know, how does it benefit you yourself, right? Building your reputation and image by taking care of what you post and all of that, did it actually help you to, does it actually play a big role in the industry, right? Let's say if you were to apply for a job and all that, and does it actually benefit you in that sense lah?
For me, if you keep it professional on your social media platform and all, you're like I said, I'm a fresh graduate, so of course I've been to interviews and all. So they will actually look at your social media platforms if you tell them that you're an influencer, because I think that's an added bonus, you know.
Right.
Like there is also this kind of something that I can contribute to the company. So of course, if you wanna, like, you can. How can I say this? Use it if you want to sell it to your employer. You have to make sure that it's kind of professional, but it's you know. Because if you want to be an influencer, your followers know if you're being yourself or not. They will know if you're real or if you're like faking yourself. So you have to make sure that you keep on check on that as well. And then of course, like I said, if you want to work in the real industry and all, you have to keep it professional, because like people will keep that on check.
What you're saying is you got to make sure that it's professional and authentic at the same time, right? People know Kiena Suhaimi as the beautiful, flawless, independent, and almost perfect woman. That's how people look at you on social media. But I personally believe that every individual have their own insecurities. So my question for you, what is yours?
Well, thankfully, in terms of the physical appearance and all, I don't really have a problem with that, because I feel like, I love seeing beautiful girls. I mean, that's amazing. I don't really have a problem with, seeing these all beautiful girls and making me feel insecure and stuff. I don't really feel that way, but I can say that my major insecurity is knowing that there's always someone else better than you. So that kind of like helped me to improve myself, you know. Like I always want to do better, because I know if I go out there, like it's not just my followers that would be a bonus, you know. I have to kind of like make sure that I keep my own like abilities in check as well. I need to always like make sure that like I say, maybe on my studies, maybe on the other parts, maybe if I have like any other added abilities that can help me in future. So that kind of thing that makes me kind of insecure. So I also have to make sure, sometimes you're gonna lose it anyway, you're gonna lose your insecurities and all. Let's just be real, right? So sometimes I just help to kind of overcome it by finding solution to my insecurities. Like, if I feel like I'm not good enough, I feel like let's just say if I want to work somewhere and I feel like, I don't think that my skills is enough, so what can I do to improve it? Where can I go? So that kind of thing
Right.
that makes me insecure. But I think that throughout the years I'm able to control it a bit more and kind of transform it to something more positive. Because if you keep on dwelling on your insecurities, that it's gonna like drag you down
Yes,
to that
most
hole.
definitely.
So I've been there before, and I don't want to go through it again.
Right.
So when you've been through something, it kind of like develop you and make you mature, make you grow as a person. So I don't think that going through that was a bad experience for me, because it kind of like developed me to a better person, I would say.
Yeah, that was what we talked about as well on our previous episode, right? Whereby we were talking about the moments where you have a breakdown. You think it's a breakdown, it's a major breakdown, but it's actually one of those moments that are creating breakthroughs in your life, right? So instead of looking at it as something that will drag you down, look at it as something that is gonna improve you in the future. I do believe like people have this kind of perception towards social media influencers that they're all woo-ha-ha, perfect, but being able to have the hands-on experience, just listening to you talking about you too is a human, you do have your own insecurities as well. From what you're doing, right? I mean, you're pretty much heavily involved in the beauty, fashion, lifestyle community, right? I just wanted to know, I think the listeners also wanted to know, do you get a lot of hate from people inside or outside of the community? And what are your response to it most of the time?
Okay, to be honest, I think being an influencer, you can't run away from it. You cannot, no matter what you do, you cannot, because you cannot expect that everyone will like you. Like, let's just say out of 100 people, you cannot expect all of them to like you, right? So there will always be that kind of thing. But thankfully, I've never received like any hates that was like intense or whatsoever. I haven't received any of that, thankfully.
Thank God.
Thank God. But looking at other influencers, which are my friends, I think that like we can see the world nowadays, we talk about mental illness all the time,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Right? So a lot of influencers as well, I see, are facing that kind of problem. So I think that if we can be nice to each other, like if we can just be nice to each other, it can help us a lot. And like mental illness is a very, very serious subject. And I think that by understanding it more, you can be able to be more empathetic towards people. Because if you have no knowledge about it, if you haven't faced it, then you wouldn't know how hard it is to struggle with your daily life and all.
Exactly.
So I think I learned a lot by witnessing other people, by witnessing my friends who are also influencers. So by the end of the day, what I learned is that it's so important to be kind to each other. It's so important to just portray kindness, and then to no matter, like, if you have something bad to say, if you want to judge someone or whatsoever, if you want to advise someone, there's always a better solution to that. There's always like a good way to do it. So I think thankfully I haven't received any hate from my followers and all, but I can say constructive criticism, there's a lot, because people are viewing my social media platforms ever since I was 15. So any decisions that I want to do with my life and all, somehow they kind of feel like they have the
power over
the
it?
power of it, the
Yeah.
power to judge it. So I can't really say that much about it, because at the end of the day, they helped me to be the person of who I am today,
Right.
right? But how to tackle it, sometimes if it gets too negative gets too messy, I will just kind of find a way to push it. I'll just like ignore it. But if it's a constructive criticism, I'll just be happy to receive it, I guess, and think of it again lah. Because by the end of the day, they kind of like your surveillance camera. They've seen you grow throughout the years, so probably they have like a power, to speak out about it. So I'll just receive it with an open heart. Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting that you view it that way, because a lot of people, when you say constructive criticism, not a lot of people get that, like what I mean by getting that is that not a lot of people understand what constructive criticism is. It can be anything actually.
Yeah.
It's just how you view it, right? And knowing that you view it that way is, well, it's amazing, right? That you just don't let all these noises outside of you affect you as much. You either ignore it or you take it as a way to improve yourself. And I think that's something that a lot of people are always confused about as well, right? Which of course led to all this mental illness, if you might say the way, depression, anxiety, panic attacks, and all that. I mean, I believe almost nowadays everyone is going through some sort of mental illness, right?
Yes.
Mainly because all of these voices are coming from the social media, from the social circle, right? And it just doesn't stop. It constantly comes in, comes out, comes in, comes out. Maybe you want to share a little bit of your thoughts on that?
I think, for my opinion as an influencer, maybe because there's just too many voices, too many opinions, too many people dictating on your every step that you take, every move that you made. So from there, maybe if you're an overthinker, you would think, oh, where's my fault? What did I do wrong? This is just what I do, man. Like, this is my life. I can do whatever I want, right? But sometimes, you can't control this. You can't control people. That's just it. So maybe it's gonna take some time to really figure out that. But I think to really overcome it, you have to have a really strong support system. For me, I think maybe I'm blessed with a strong support system. I have amazing family and also supportive friends that's always with me. Like if I did anything wrong, they will like be, hey, you gotta fix this, man. Like there's always gonna be people that not just backs you up, but also kind of advise you if you kind of messed up, because we're all humans. We make mistakes, right? We make mistakes. We kind of screwed up sometimes. So it's very important to have a strong support system, because I think at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Going back to the part where you said it might take some time to figure things out, to fix things out. There was a point in time where you went MIA from social media. We've talked about this, the two of us, but I do want you to share it to our listeners. Going back to the part where you said that we need some time to fix ourselves, to figure it all out, right? There was a period in time where you went MIA from social media. Do you think you can share with us why and what was the reason? And what were you expecting to get from doing that? Yep.
I think that sometimes we just need a break. Like life keeps going on, and then like even though I am an influencer, I don't share everything in my life. I just choose to share like bits of my life to my followers. So that time of my life, I faced some personal problems and issues. So I figured, I just need a break. I just need a social media break, to be exact. So I was still on social media. I was still like browsing and looking at what's happening and all. But I kind of stopped posting. And then I stopped accepting any campaigns and all, because I think that, this is the time that I need to kind of sit down and then just think about what's going on in my life and kind of like figure out what do I want to do next, what do I have to do with this problem that I'm facing, like do I want to fix it, do I want to do this, do I want to do that. I took the time off to spend time with my friends, my family, and then to really figure out what I want in life, because that part of the time of my life, it was really hard. Like, I have to say, it was really hard. I was kind of depressed, and having to go through all that, at the end of the day, you need a strong support system, because if you don't, you will kind of like dwell in that kind of
Zone,
zone and all. So I think social media break that time was one of the best decisions in my life. As I am that kind of person, if I face anything, I would go to the ocean.
Right.
Yeah, so the first thing I did, the next day I went to Perhentian with my friends. And then that kind of like healed me in a way. Yeah, I love it. It heals me by listening to the waves.
Right.
By like being in a very calming kind of situation. It helps me a lot.
Gosh, I can feel it now.
Yes, oh god. It always helps me. Like, ocean is always the best solution for me. And then it kind of helped me to think. Like,
Clearly.
I got away from the city, from the busyness, from all these questions that were being thrown at me. So I think by taking time off from social media, especially because it was just too much, it helped me. And then when I got back, I think I'm more happy, because that's what's important, right?
Yeah.
To be happy. So I decided to just got on social media when I got better.
We thought we lost you there, or during that period of time. We're like,
no, I'm
what
still
happened
here.
to her? What happened to her? Kenapa macam tak ada bunyi je? Yeah.
I'm back.
Yeah. Yeah, actually that's interesting, because I feel like I went through that episode, if you might say it away, right? Quite recently, actually, constantly feeling clueless, of you're not so sure whether you want to do that for your entire life. Are you sure that this is the direction that you want to go? And it's constantly like, questions coming from everyone, like, dude, you sure you want to do that and all that again? And then it gets confused and all that. You just gotta start going somewhere where you have clarity over everything, right? And you really try to calm yourself down. It's funny, because it's not funny lah. I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting the fact that as much as you value that side of your life, right, like your social media stuff and all that, you still know the balance to take a step back and really, put yourself as a priority, instead of some people that actually force themselves to act normal. Like, even though I'm feeling very bad right now, I'm feeling very shitty, they still go post on social media as if nothing happened at the first place, right?
Yeah.
They're like, hey, I'm doing fine, but you can just see it. Like what you said, you can just see it, that they're not being them.
Sometimes, maybe because they have this kind of campaign, they have to post this, they have to post that. You can't really do anything about it, right? Because even before I took my social media kind of break, I needed to settle some campaigns and all, and no matter how it was really a depressing time of my life, and then I just had to do it because it's my responsibility, right? Because even if I keep on dragging it, it won't get me anywhere.
Yeah, it won't solve any problems.
So by doing that, by just finishing anything that I need to do, I got to get my time off.
Man, it's quite tough being an influencer, huh? What one tool have you leveraged in a way that others haven't? Share with me that one.
That's a very hard question. I think, like I said, I started working at a very young age. So I would say one tool, I think I like trying out new stuff, even though it kind of, I didn't know what it's gonna be. I wouldn't know how it will turn out to me. Like back then, I interned at an oil and gas company, which was completely different than what I was doing. So I think I was very experimentative.
Yep. Curious.
I'm very curious. So I didn't know, can I make it? Even at first, I kind of questioned myself, is this really the direction that I'm going to go? Because I'm doing social media stuff, and then now I'm doing oil and gas.
Really corporate stuff.
Yeah, very corporate stuff. So I was like, oh, shit.
We got that. We got that one.
Even I didn't know, should I accept it or not and stuff. So, it was a hard decision, but I guess because I'm very curious, so
Yeah.
I want to know what it's like. Is it really, stiff, and was the working environment really, really hard and competitive and all?
Yeah.
So I really want to experience that, because people say that if you're on your 20s, you should be, kind of, how to say, kind of like doing all of the things that you're curious about and all. So
time to venture.
yeah, it's time to
Yeah.
venture. So I did that, and it turns out to be one of the best thing that ever happened. I learned a lot. I kind of really enjoyed being that in that kind of environment. So that one small decision kind of made my vision clear on what I want to do next. So I think by the fact that I'm a very curious person,
Right.
like I want to know how this thing works, how that thing works. So by doing that, it kind of made things clear for me, So I would say that.
Okay, on whatsoever that you're doing right now, like the social media stuff and all of that, right? I want to ask you if you actually have a timeline for it. Like, do you have a deadline or any age, or do you have any specific age where you're gonna go like, okay, this is it, I'm done with it, it's time to. Do you look at yourself stopping at somewhere, or do you look at it something that is gonna be continuous until, you know?
Well, I think some people look at their social media as like a hobby, while some people look at it as a job. So as for me, I kind of have no deadline for it. I have no timeline for it. I think that it's something that I'm really passionate about. I get to go to a lot of events. I even got the chance to travel. So I think no, because I really love doing it. I
Right.
think that it's a hobby as well, and I also get a lot of I can say input about beauty industry, about fashion industry and all. So no, I don't have a timeline.
Okay, great. That's great.
I would love to, I think, do it until I'm old, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Do you actually take your time to study the mechanics of Instagram? Like, do you actually explore it yourself? Like, recently they just released this new feature, chat button. You know that chat button?
No.
On story, if you swipe up and there's this
Really?
chat thingy.
Oh,
I don't know what's the sole purpose of that one,
okay.
but yeah, I'm quite interested how influencers are actually gonna use it, right? It's either for
Oh.
influencers or businesses. I'm not so sure,
Okay.
but either way, I'm quite curious to see how it goes. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean-
I heard it first from you.
Mhm. Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a new feature they just added. I mean, is this podcast about Instagram now? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, do you actually take your time to study that? Like, contohnya lah kan, macam when IG story first keluar, were you interested to like, oh shit, it's time to like try this vertical video? Because I was all about that.
Yeah.
I wanted to know on your side, do you actually take your time to study the mechanics of all that?
I wouldn't say very formally, like,
So
doing
intense.
nothing.
I do that. I'm really sorry.
But yeah, I mean, how these kind of platforms develop kind of made me very, very excited and all to try these new features and all, right? So it also helped because back then we were so I was so like attached with my Snapchat account,
Yeah,
because you can
Snapchat,
post
yeah.
stories and it only lasted for 24 hours, and then people would know like if it kind of like, how to say this, like on Snapchat it's not forever there, so you kind of can like post anything
There's
that
like,
you want.
there's a safe
Yeah.
layer over there. There's a gray area that says like, hey, it's safe to post here.
Yeah, kind of like that. And also I think I do that as well, because we are youngsters, like
Yeah.
we love when new things, when new features come out. So I'd say I'm just like you, but maybe you're more advanced than me, because you know all this
No
new
lah,
stuff.
no. Just the rough research on it. Before we wrap up, I think I have about 2 to 3 questions before we wrap up, right? Do you think is it more than just being talented? Or do you think we need to be able to network, able to deliver and be trusted in the industry that you're in?
of course, it's the second one. I mean, not just talking as an influencer, but also because I'm taking communication, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe it's an added bonus as well, since I'm an influencer and I'm also taking communication, because basically you're also learning about that stuff, how to do networking, how to learn, not just that lah, by learning on how to, looking at this one people and kind of reading their behavior and all. So I think that's very important. That's an added bonus. Not just that, you're able to kind of develop yourself as a person, because at the end of the day, you're going to use all of your skills and abilities to work and then to do basically anything on your life lah, not just work, because it helps you with facing anything. So I think that is very important, because the bigger the network you have, I mean, it's easier for you, You never know what's going to happen. You never know in the future, maybe you have this kind of thing that you need to do, but then you don't have the resources, or you don't have anyone that you can refer to. But by networking, by building more relationship with people, I think that will help you in the future. And I think that it's very important, especially in this world nowadays, everything is about social media thingy and all. So I think that, it's important.
Yeah. You're 23 years old this year. Throughout this whole journey of being 23 years old, what was the biggest lesson that you've learned so far? Share with us.
I think I would have to relate it with social media as well. Okay, I think being at 23 years old, you're still kind of developing yourself as a person. You're still kind of figuring yourself out. We're still in that process. So what have taught me so far is that the number of followers I have really does not define me as a person. Because sometimes you just want to meet people, and then you just want them to look at you as a person, but not by the followers that you have. But I kind of view it in a more different way. Maybe it's a bonus, but at the same time, I want to be able to have something else that I can offer, not just by the amount of followers I have. So, like I said, it's something that I need to improve as well. It's something that maybe you can learn. Maybe you can go to classes to add your skills and all, because you want to be different than other people. You want to be you, right? So what makes you you? There's gonna be something else that makes you special and different than other person. So I think that's what I learned, because being an influencer nowadays, there's a lot of influencers, but what makes you different than others? And that's also what people want to know. You have to be you, basically. You have to be real, you have to be authentic and all. But I think in order to do that, you have to explore yourself first. You have to do a lot of things, make mistakes. It's fine to make mistakes, because by doing that, you will learn and you will grow as a person, and then you will figure out yourself. So for me, it's still a journey. I'm still figuring myself out, what I like, what I don't like and all. So it's a process, and I'm enjoying this process.
All right. That's great. Traveling. I want you to share with us a little bit more thoughts on traveling itself. How did it help you growing as an individual, as a person, as a human being in general, as a social media influencer? Just touch a little bit more on that, because I do believe traveling plays an important role as a person growing.
Yes, truly. For me, I think that's a bonus also of being an influencer, because I got the chance to go to Maldives.
Right, I saw the photos. They're beautiful.
It was amazing. I went to Seoul, Korea, and also Bangkok for work purposes. But I think just by doing that, it kind of opened up my views about the world. It kind of gave me inspiration. Oh, I need to travel more often, because by doing that, it kind of will inspire you as well, and kind of will burn the passion inside you. Because I'm always like that. If I want to do something, I would always have to find a purpose or something that will keep me going, Because sometimes some people are always motivated and all, but me, I need to find something,
Yeah, I
find
get what you
something.
mean.
I need to just find that purpose or that kind of inspiration. So by traveling, it opened up my eyes a lot, and I feel like it's what we should do. We're still young. We're still in our 20s, so grab as many opportunities as you can. And if you're capable of traveling, travel, because you don't have to go far if you can't. You can just go inside Malaysia. But as for me, I love the ocean, so it's always my first
Maldives
option.
is the perfect one.
Oh, that's the best. Nowhere can fit that. Yeah.
You did a vlog on that one as well, right? Yeah. You guys can check it out. Yeah, it's a
Yes.
really beautiful scene I saw. Like the waters were blue, like you were just standing on a boat, right? Kat sampan, kan?
Oh yes, it was like a heaven on earth.
Yeah,
It was
like,
amazing.
when I first saw that photo you posted on Instagram, oh man, that's such a beautiful scenery,
Yes, I would love to go back again.
Yeah.
One day, please finger crossed. I think
Yeah.
I have to go back.
Yep.
It's amazing.
Last question. Where can people find out more about what you do and you yourself?
Okay, I'm very active on my Instagram. It would be at Kiena Suhaimi, KienaSuhaimi, Kiena Suhaimi. And also my YouTube platform. I've been MIA for a while because
it's YouTube.
I need to find an inspiration, like I say. And YouTube, you have to be super consistent.
Yeah.
So if I want to do something, I have to make sure that it's consistent. So right now, no, I have to be honest, no. So I'm very active on my Instagram. So that's where you can find me most.
All right, that's great. Thank you so much, Kiena, for spending some time with us.
Thank you for
Yeah.
having me. It's a pleasure to be
Yeah.
here.
It's a pretty casual, chill kind of thing. I had a lot of fun, to be honest.
Yes.
Like, it turned out to be funny as well.
I had a lot of fun watching you.
As usual.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, that's it. One with Kiena. Kiena, before we end the episode, do you have anything to say?
Firstly, I want to say thank you for inviting me. I think that this is a great effort, to cultivate youth and all. It's a good platform to also inspire others. I've seen one of the episodes before with Adam.
Yep.
I really love it. I think what he's doing is amazing.
Yeah.
So keep on doing this. I cannot wait to see your other podcasts in the future.
All right. That's great. Thank you so much, Kiena. It doesn't take much to be nice to everyone. Social media influencers are humans too, at the end of the day. And their followers doesn't make them any different than you are. Be mindful of your words and be kind to everyone. I hope you gain tons of value from this podcast. And if you like this show, it will help us a lot if you share with your friends and close ones. A big thank you to Kiena for spending some quality time with us. This was a collaboration between Culture Talent and Renegade Radio. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and wherever you get your podcast from. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.